Hello everybody and welcome back to another World of Warships Legends video. Today we're going to be going over a good old friend of mine, the Tier 7 British battleship Monarch. If you've been a fan of this channel for a while or you've watched some of my live streams, you probably know how much I already like this ship. I think she's highly underrated, and I think if you have enough GXP for her, she's a solid pick, but we're going to get on with that when we get to the end of the video. For our commander, we are using Andrew Cunningham with flammable cannoneer, gyrating drill bits, marksmanship, reaching out XXL, and fight fire with fire. For our inspirations, we are using Angelo Iachino and Azulane Scharnhorst. If you don't have Azulane Scharnhorst, I highly suggest you run Paolo di Ravel to just get that reload down. For our upgrades, we are using aiming systems, propulsion mod, concealment mod, and main battery reload mod. Now, in terms of your loadout, the ship isn't particularly special. You do have the signature Royal Navy high explosive with better pen and some pretty good damage as well, and got a pretty decent fire chance. Your armor piercing, while it is, I believe, short fuse, is actually, your guns have some really good velocity, so really it kind of cancels it out. You do have two heals, but these are the British super heals you get on ships like the Nelson, although I don't think Monarch is as powerful as the Nelson. You also get the irregular catapult fighter, which you can swap for spotter aircraft if you desire. In terms of your actual statistics, you've only got 53,900 health, which does, I think, make this the worst or second worst tier 7 battleship in terms of health. I think only Champagne might have less, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the main battery is where a lot of this ship is at. Your reload is 22 seconds, and this is without Paolo di Ravel on. This is really how you're going to get all your damage. Your ships, the DPM on Monarch is quite frankly insane. I think it's only overshadowed by the Odin, which has a ridiculously good reload. The only difference being is that Monarch's guns actually do damage when they do hit things, which Odin's are pretty famous for not doing. Your AA is bad, really. I mean, AA isn't particularly useful anyway, but especially on the Monarch, it's really not going to do you any good. Your maneuverability, your speed isn't great, neither is your turning circle, and your rudder is, of course, terrible. The ship has PC's stock hull, so you've got the unupgraded rudder on here, which is why you can run rudder mod, and I kind of suggest you do, but again, propulsion mod is just the standard for battleships. And your concealment is kind of In terms of your armor, though, things start to look up. Of course, you're coated in 32, like most battleships of this tier are, which means 8-inch high explosive is going to overmatch you pretty much everywhere. Your bow is also 32mm, as most battleships are again, which means you're not going to get overmatched at all. Now, your turrets are pretty flat. Now, this does mean that they can get knocked out pretty easily. It happens a lot. But your citadel here is far, far, far below the waterline. Getting citadel in this ship really shouldn't be that much of a problem. It's only going to happen from ships that have, you know, from long range to have really good, really steep plunging fire. Your belt as well is actually 381. Now, whilst this is comparatively flat compared to most ships here, when angled, even angled less, I guess you could say, than most battleships, you still wouldn't have anything to worry about because you are going to ricochet a lot. So, pretty much, in terms of your actual armor here, you're pretty much golden. The only weakness is your superstructure, which is large, very blocky. And your superstructure is pretty good shell catcher, mainly because of those secondaries you can see there. Fairly flat, big edges. Not as bad as ships like California, but they will still... you will still eat shit occasionally, I'm sorry to say. But that's what your CPL's for. So, with that out of the way, let's get on to the actual game. So this first game here is taking place on the map Estuary. The teams are unbalanced. As you might be able to tell, the enemy has 3 destroyers to our 2, and I do believe we actually have a Normandy on our team, which is, so that's pretty much an act of self-sabotage, because we have a failed division and less destroyers, so this is already off to not a great start. We've got middle spawn here, which is pretty not good. The islands on Estuary really do block your shots a lot. So really, the only time where being middle spawn on this map is particularly useful is getting crossfires over into ACAP, which is what we're already doing. Now, a lot of people, let's just say they don't like Monarch. They think it sucks. And I can understand. Honestly, I do. not really excelling a lot, particularly in mobility and in their health department. That's really lackluster. And that's kind of the whole centre of the argument of Monarch should be buffed. Now, do I think Monarch needs a buff? No. Do I want it to be buffed? Yes, it's one of my favourite ships, so I really won't complain if it gets buffed, but I don't think it really needs it. I think this ship performs perfectly fine in the hands of a good player. Get a nice 12k chunk into that King George V. There are actually 3 King George V's in this game. There was one over there and there's one at D. So, really, Monarch gameplay is simple, right? It kind of boils down to a cycle of you have to make use of your DPM, because as I've said, your DPM is very good. So really, if something's spotted, you shoot and you don't stop shooting, okay? You've got to make the most of that DPM. Your shells travel quickly, you don't need to aim a lot. You don't have to be the best aimer on the planet. So, pretty much, fire your guns, reload, second they reload, you shoot your guns. That's pretty much the entire gameplay of Monarch. Just make sure you also try your best to stay angled as well, because obviously your belt armor is pretty thick, but it is only it is flat, which does give it kind of decreased effectiveness. The Veneto turns up here. I already know we don't really have enough pen to penetrate the belt of Veneto, which is why I tried to aim under his turret, but he does accelerate, so I only get a few shells there, and some of them go into the black hole torpedo belt protection armor. He confusingly, this Veneto is going to be firing high explosive for the majority of this game, and that King George V is already dead. Go any second now. There you go, there he goes. So we're going to get turned around here, and we're going to try and push into A, because we know there's a destroyer in A, because it's getting capped, and obviously there's nobody else who's been spotted in the cap, so it can only be a destroyer. So hopefully you might be able to support our Talon here and pushing in and radaring the destroyer, forcing out the cap. We take a pot shot here at Charles Martel and magically get 2 citadels. I'm not really sure how. Our dispersion was quite frankly horrendous, and we didn't really aim that shot at all, but well, he's gonna get smacked about a bit here. He's not gonna live, so I don't think I even bother shooting at him. So that leaves the Bismarck, the Veneto, and the Destroyer over here at A. Hopefully our team at A does also, well, I don't want to be rude, but, you know, push out behind the island a bit here. I get from the Destroyer. We've got a cruiser, and we've got a different cruiser there as well. I can't remember whether it has a radar or not, so whatever. Now, we only get spotted here, which means I think the Destroyer is already leaving the cap, because we were already covering the entire cap of our detection circle before we rounded that corner, which means in my mind the Destroyer is already retreating and is pulling back, so I'm not particularly concerned. I imagine he's already shot torpedoes at me, so I already turn in here also to try and angle myself into the Bismarck. We get a nice, I can't even remember how much that was. That's about 9k there. Gonna put our plane up here just in case the Bismarck gets spotted. He gets spotted anyway because he shoots at us. Classic Bismarck, we use the propulsion one to accelerate. It does hit one shell on our belt, however we do ricochet it. And you're going to be seeing, I'm just going to start pumping shots into this Bismarck here. This epic reload mod we have on is going to help with our reload. I believe when you get to the about max level, you get your reload down to 20 seconds. Sometimes it is funny to run just a full-on reload build on a Monarch. I forgot we can get your reload down to, I think it might be about 17 when the epic reload mod is maxed out. So because obviously the Bismarck's angling in here, we're going to aim high. Now, I see a lot of people spamming high explosive in a Monarch, and in my mind, that's not really the way you do it. Should you be firing high explosive? Of course you should. It's a British battleship, you should be firing high explosive in it. But only in the certain situations. Because this ship's got some pretty fast shells, your AP is actually pretty punchy. However, when you get an angled target like this Bismarck here, I recommend you do start loading the high explosive. Now Bismarck's a pretty squishy target, so we're just going to keep the armor piercing loaded here for a second. He does land only one shot on us, thankfully, as we turn out. He's actually going to start pushing in here, which is a bit bizarre. We're going to, we're just going to switch to high explosive because, of course, British high explosive. This is what Monarch is really best at, apart from this DPM. Something's broadside. Obviously, your AP is going to do a lot of nasty work, especially with that DPM. Something angles in, your HE is going to do work with equally as good damage. Plus, you're going to be setting the ships on fire. So really, we just aimed a bit forward there on Veneto to try and hit his bow, which I know is unsaturated because Veneto does have some very good armor. So, as I've really said already, we're just going to kill this Veneto this south. We're going to get a citadel and kill him. The real way to Monarch is, don't be afraid to, switch your ammo types. This is normally a good rule for any ship, by the way, but it applies especially well to Monarch. And you shoot and you shoot and you don't stop shooting. The second you stop shooting, you start wasting that DPM because, honestly, your guns are inconsistent and can be quite unreliable. So, no matter how good your shots are, that shot on Charles Martel who managed to get 2 magical citadels on could have easily just done no damage at all. We're gonna take an auto aim shot here on a Bismarck, but unfortunately I'm a bit of a numpty and I don't notice he's turning out, so we hit 2 shells on his heavily angled belt, which of course don't do anything. Thankfully though, our reload is so incredibly good on a Monarch, we're actually going to be able to reload quick enough in order to pick up the kill. Well, I'll say steal the kill. And that leaves just the enemy black, which I believe is what their destroyer is. Which I've already loaded high explosive for, just because you never know, he might turn up. Which he does because he's shooting at me for some reason, I don't know why he's shooting at me, but he is. So we're just going to take that opportunity and, he's accelerating, he's turning out, so we're going to aim a bit high here. Fire. Unfortunately, dispersion doesn't do us much justice either, especially because my aim was a bit wonky. But that one shield did still do 2,000 damage, which is, of course, well, that's one of your benefits of UK high explosive. We're just going to wait until we clear this. No, wait, no, we're not. We're going to shoot a black again. I remember this shot. We actually, it looked like our dispersion. Our shell grouping was quite tight, but we actually somehow managed to miss him completely there. And I shake the camera in frustration. I think I might have been a bit salty at that. So we're just going to resume firing at the enemy's 3rd King George V here. And we're just going to be a bit relentless. As I said, you fire and you don't stop firing, get a nice 5 pens. This brings us up to 166k. Maxes out our epic reload mod, so we're down to a 20-second reload now. So you put another shell in, well, put another shot in here, get some pretty nice tight dispersion. Don't aim it forward quite enough, but we still managed to get 10,500. Now I believe we're going to get one more shot here on the King George V, or maybe 2. We're just going to unload another salvo of armor piercing into him, try and aim up his upper belt / superstructure, and we do 10,000 damage, but unfortunately we don't manage to yoink the kill there, and we're going to end this game on 187,000 damage, because, well, we're not going to be able to hit the destroyer. He's going to turn up, but we're not going to be able to hit him in time, so we're just going to skip to the end. So a pretty nice conclusion to our first game there. We get 187,000 damage, 3,135 base XP, top of the leaderboard, with about 500,000 credits earned. We also get 25,000 XP thanks to the whole boost thing on right now. So, with that over and done with, let's go to the second game. Here we have our second game. We are on the map Crash Zone with no carriers and 3 destroyers per team. This is an up tier, this game, so we're already kind of on the back foot here. Now we get middle spawn on this map, and the middle spawn on this map is interesting because, as you all know, there's no cover on this this middle section of the map. There's just absolutely nothing here. So, logically, people leave the middle spawn on this map because there's not really a lot to do. There are never any caps here in the middle of the map. Actually, there is, I think, sometimes. So, we're just going to head south like a lot of people do, or some people go north. Atlantico requests my support, I don't know why. I think they're going to, but actually, I don't know, I think they do lose that side, unfortunately. So, about the complaints for the Monarch, you know, the 2 talking points are always the health and the rudder. I don't think, as much as I understand people's problems with these, I don't understand, well, I do understand. I understand their issues with them. However, I think it's counteracted in the game perfectly. Rudder shift is not particularly something that's important to a battleship anyway. This is really only like a cruiser or a destroyer problem, rudder shift. Being able to turn in both of those is obviously very useful, but on a battleship, I don't really think so. So I think you kind of have to position yourself carefully like I have here. I've already got myself into a kiting position. I'm going to unload on the broadside Bismarck. This guy likes going broadside, this Bismarck in particular. We get 16,000. Again, you don't have to aim a lot with this ship. You really just kind of have to zoom in, fire, load, zoom in, fire, load. You get the idea. I've said it enough at this point. And the argument for Monarch's health, I think, is also counteracted perfectly with Monarch's armor is very good, and then you also get superior on top of that, which, if you really want to build that way, or you have Angela Nelson like the pathetic version you are, then you can get 4 heals. And, well, first destroyer has actually died. Great. I'm going to unload at the Atlantico, of course. We're going to aim up a bit slightly because we're not going to be able to pen his belt at this range. Atlantico can be quite the tough nut to crack. It's not really got a lot of superstructure, and it is its armor is pretty thick as well. So we've got a destroyer advantage in this camp. We've got 2 destroyers in this camp. They've got 1. Although we won't have 2 destroyers for very long, you know, I won't point it out. You see it in the left side of the screen when you do see it. So I'm going to push in here. I might be able to try and flush the destroyer out, maybe get a nice big hit on him with high explosive. You never know. I'm just going to take a shot here at the enemy Bismarck while I can. Load fire, load fire, load fire. It just, pretty much if there's anyone ever spotted, it doesn't matter how heavy angled they are, just always be shooting your guns. Because, as I said, you stop doing that, you lose your DPM, which is obviously your main advantage in your guns. You don't want to be like Kansas, which has, naturally, very bad DPM, but, you know, insane accuracy with your depleted uranium shells and whatnot. Now, this Kronstadt, he's going to play it a bit interesting. He's kind of doing what you'd normally do in Kronstadt, and kind of just sitting bowing around the corner of the island. Now, normally that would be a pretty good play, but he's actually going to push round, which is bizarre. And well, you'll see it when it happens. Anyways, our destroyer's died, the enemy Atlantico's gone down, and the Kagro's turned up. I don't know why he's on low health. I don't think he's been spotted the entire game. I'm pretty sure he's taken a blind torp from somebody. Probably the Fletcher. We're just going to take the shot here. Somebody else is going to do some nice damage to him. We're just going to pick up the kill on that guy.
Enemy destroyer sunk.
Now, with this cap, pretty much well, I wouldn't say pretty much secure. They've got a nice opportunity to slip in here, stop the enemy from capturing it. You know, also stop getting nailed by the ZF6 because he's being annoying. I mean, he's already set us on a permafire. This is an HE spamming ZF6, which really he shouldn't be doing. ZF6 has got good AP for a reason. We're just going to yoink the kill here on the Zeton, because honestly, I can't be asked just even giving him an opportunity to live. So that was just a ZF6 there. We've got our Fletcher. I think it's Fletcher anyway. I could be mistaken. And actually, we're not doing well. This Carno, he's going to die. He's very obviously. Poor Carno, man. I don't know who's held this man at gunpoint to play Carno, but he's going to die here. So we're actually down on points and ships, but we're gonna try and crawl this one back. Whether or not we're going to be successful, I'm going to leave up to question. Get some suspense, you know. So luckily, our battleship there, I can't remember if that ZF6 ate the battleship shells or he also ate another torpedo. I think he ate the battleship shells. Our Fletcher does actually be a god tier game here, and he does take out the ZF6. Now that leaves the enemy with just one destroyer, but he's still on the other side of the map right now, so it's really not that big of an issue. And here's where the Kronstadt kind of pushes for absolutely no reason. There's no reason for him to do this. I get that he might want to stop me from taking the cap, but he's not even looking at me. He's just pushing blindly. So we get 17k. We're not going to sit still this guy at any point, which is unfortunate. We do manage to pick up the cap, so he didn't even stop us from capping. He's also got high explosive loaded, even though the targets over there were, I mean, they're broadside enough for him to let his very good AP work, but I don't know. Maybe we'll make a Kronstadt video next. We'll see about it. We'll see. So I'm going to do a bit of a trick here. You can see we're on fire, we're losing health, and so what I'm looking for, and I've seen it there, is I'm waiting to use the best time to use my heal when I'm going to be recovering the most health. When you see that green bar at the bottom before you've used your heal, which is, you know, how much health you're going to recover if you used your heal then. I'm going to wait. I wait for it, well, you should. You wait for it to get as large as possible, and the second it starts, you know, it stops expanding. That's the best time to use your heal, because that's when your heal's going to be the most effective. You have to make the most out of your heals, which I've done there. Monarch and British battleships in general are you can't really kill British BVs by burning them to death or flooding, because they will just heal it back. There's no point in even trying. So we're pretty much we've gained most of our health back, and now we've killed the Bismarck. Now I've got a next customer. All the enemies seem to be making the mistake in this battle of they're coming at us single file, one at a time, which is really what's kind of killed their chances of winning this game. If the Bismarck and the Kronstadt stayed where they are, they could have killed our battleship to the south, and then the Verdi, the Iowa, and their destroyer could have all come in at the same time, which, I mean, we would have been boxed in, and our chances of winning would have been very low. So we're just gonna switch to high explosive here on the Verdi because, well, he's Verdi. We did manage to get one shell on him there, and it did actually take out one of his turrets because he's a Verdi. Verdi has very, very squishy Italian turrets. So obviously there's no point in really firing armor piercing at him right now, so we are just going to switch to high explosive, as I said you should. He's actually going to give us a nice side here though, and he's actually going to shoot the battleship behind us, which I think is a Grosser, if I'm not mistaken. You get 4 pens, a nice just over 6k. Unfortunately, no fire because I assume he's running. He's probably not running a secondary build actually, because his secondary probably would have been shooting at me by now. So he's actually not running secondary build, but this guy here, he's going to be a bit of a pain. You can't really set him up. I don't think we set this guy on fire at all. We get another 5 shell hits there. We get a shatter. Actually, common misconception: shatters do not decrease your chance to set fire. There's something a lot of people think. You get a shatter, your chance of actually causing a fire, that shell decreases. It doesn't. Now we're just going to shoot him with HE again. Again, that could have been a 1 to set of 5, but it's obviously just used the damage gone because he's been torpedoed. So we just skip ahead here just in time to see the Verdi blow up. Again, Xbox capture systems. I don't really have the money to buy, well, I probably do, but I just haven't. Bought one of those, actual capture cards which can record, hours of gameplay, because Xbox can only let you record up to 10 by default, so you have to record it in 2 parts, which is supremely annoying, etc, etc. I'm not going to keep going on about it now. We can just take a nice shot here at the Iowa. Again, load of fire, just fire at everything that moves. That should really be your philosophy. If your guns are loaded, you shoot something. It doesn't matter if that's an enemy ship, allied ship, aircraft, innocent civilians on land, whatever, but just shoot something. Okay, maybe not the allied ship part or the innocent civilians part. Shoot the enemy. That's really, it may sound incredible, but that's how you do damage. I know. You shoot things in the Monarch, you'll do damage. And so, yeah. You can't really be too picky with what you're shooting at. I'm just going to let the Allied Fletcher here just finish off this Schmalland. Heavy menace sail. The Iowa's angling in here, which is a bit frustrating. So we're going to aim a bit higher into the superstructure. Again, Iowa isn't particularly well armoured, and battleships of this tier tend to have pretty large superstructures anyway. So naturally, at this point, Iowa's kinda it's over for him. He's got all but one of our ships shooting at him now. We get 2 shells into his superstructure here, which are both pens, because well, shot fuse armor piercing plus massive chunky superstructure equals damage. We are going to switch to high explosive here as we fire yet another salve with him. We managed to pick up our high caliber. Very nice, very nice. We're going to aim up a bit because first thing, try and hit his bow with the high explosive, which we do. And we managed to pick up the kill. It was 6.7k damage salvo there to the Iowa. $140,000 damage for Tier 7 British battleship Monarch. 4 killed, top leaderboard 2,734 base XP. So overall, should you get the Monarch? Yep, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's just my final answer, yes. Long answer, yes. I think she's one of the best Tier 7 battleships. I'm not even gonna lie. I try to be modest with these ships in this reviews, but I'm not gonna lie. I love this ship. I think she's fantastic. Just before this video ends, I just want to say thank you for the support over the past maybe 2 months. I know I had a big change in content, but honestly, it seems to have only worked better, which is kind of what I hoped for. So to everyone watching this video, honestly, thank you. Just from the bottom of my heart, thank you to all of my viewers, long time, short time, I don't really care. Even if this is your first video, just thanks for being here. Please give the video a like if you would be so inclined, and also subscribe. Yeah, thank you for watching, and till next time, toodaloo, au revoir, bye bye.